If you've been following the podcast for a while, you'll know that a little while back, I announced I was talking to investors about my startup AI Box. We ended up getting such a huge influx of people talking to us that we kind of changed our strategy regarding fundraising, and we have a really exciting announcement coming soon. But if you were an investor that had previously reached out to me and jumped on a call, make sure to reach out again. I have some really exciting news to give to you, or if you're an investor today looking to invest in an absolutely groundbreaking AI startup, I'm going to leave my email, jaden@aibox.ai, in the description, and I'll give you the inside scoop. Today on the podcast, we're talking about a massive AI acquisition that was recently announced, and this is by Cisco, who is buying the cybersecurity firm Splunk, and they're doing this for $28 billion. For those that don't know, Splunk is an AI cybersecurity firm that really is focusing on bolstering defense. And this is especially right now as the use of AI is really increasing. So today on the podcast, we're going to be diving into some of the AI implications, why we think this is such a big deal, and really breaking down this $28 billion acquisition. Welcome to the world's #1 AI podcast, AI Chat. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app, or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. In a remarkable stride towards advancing AI-driven security and observability, Cisco, the, of course, Silicon Valley networking giant, has announced its acquisition of the very famous cybersecurity firm Splunk Incorporated. This is a $28 billion deal, and Splunk shareholders are super thrilled, over the moon with this right now. I think Cisco has committed to paying $157 per Splunk share, which is, really good if you are a Splunk investor. You'll be doing great on this deal. So Cisco's chair and CEO is Chuck Robbins, and he kind of emphasized the potential of this synergy in a statement saying, quote, "Our combined capabilities will drive the next generation of AI-enabled security and observability, from threat detection and response to threat prediction and prevention. We aim to fortify organizations of all size, ensuring they remain both secure and resilient." This is really interesting because they're doing a couple things here. Of course, there's threat detection. This is a big thing for cybersecurity right now. And using AI for threat detection is valuable. But more importantly, I think what people see a lot of value in AI is what they said here, which is threat prediction and prevention. Recently on the podcast, we had someone from Square, and they were talking about the way that Square uses AI to predict if someone is going to churn, if they're about to lose a customer, and they take some preemptive measures to try to retain those customers. It's really interesting, right? Using AI to predict churn, and I think we're seeing the same kind of thing in a different field, in a different area here, but we're using AI to predict threats, to predict where you might see vulnerabilities and weaknesses in your cybersecurity, and then being able to help mitigate those. So I think AI's predictive ability, you give it all of the data about your company and then it can predict where you're vulnerable, is a really, really powerful use case. So Dan Ives of Wedbush views this as a strategic step for Cisco. In a note to clients, he said, "Cisco's sharp focus on the next-gen AI-enabled security, coupled with Splunk's distinct platform, marks this as a astute move. This sends a clear message to competitors like Palo Alto, Checkpoint, CrowdStrike, Microsoft, and Zscaler that Cisco remains a formidable force in the market, striving to further its market share in the imminent years." I think while both companies' boards have given their approval to this acquisition, Splunk shareholder approval is still pending. So if everything goes according to plan, the deal is projected to finish by the end of Q3 next year. As you know, with these kind of really big mergers or acquisitions, these deals tend to take a long time for this all to actually finalize. And so, we're looking for, the end of next year, or kind of Q3. So around this time next year, we should be seeing this deal close. A big deal, of course, $28 billion. And so that's going to take a full year to get this whole thing wrapped up. Interestingly, the market reacted very quickly. Cisco Systems shares actually dropped about 4% after this announcement. And We saw, of course, Splunk had, over 20% increase in their shares, which is kind of interesting to see. You kind of see this from a couple different angles, but perhaps Cisco's dipping just because they know that they're going to have to pay that $28 billion. Perhaps it is dipping because people see us as a sign of weakness, right? Cisco couldn't do this internally, so they had to acquire someone. And of course, Splunk is getting a premium on the share price, so it's going to go up. Now, the one thing I'll say is I do believe that this is probably a good move from Cisco. It's going to help bolster their company. Historically, Cisco has grown through kind of strategic acquisitions, and it's, of course, been steering clear of some of these huge deals like it's looking at now. But this acquisition of Splunk, valued at $28 billion, I think kind of shows a pretty big shift in their strategy that they've used to date. So Splunk's acclaimed observability platform promises to complement Cisco's security vertical, helping clients in deciphering security threats and analyzing vast log data for troubleshooting across diverse enterprise systems. So Splunk's recent valuation was slightly above $20 billion, right? And so I think considering its share price range over the last year, the acquisition premium appears very, very generous. This has led to speculations that there might have been other potential companies looking to buy Splunk, right? If their valuation's $20 billion and Cisco's willing to pay $28 billion, like that's, almost a 30% premium on the share price. So definitely a generous offer, and I'm curious if there was, other suitors looking to acquire Splunk. Gary Steele, who's Splunk's president and CEO, expressed a lot of optimism in this partnership, saying, quote, "Merging with Cisco propels Splunk's growth journey, amplifying our commitment to bolstering global organizations while delivering exceptional value to our shareholders." Industry expert Ray Wang, and founder and principal analyst at Constellation Research, also kind of weighted on this, saying the amalgamation of Cisco's network telemetry with Splunk's observability platform offers clients a panoramic view of data, enhancing network security. So I think in the M&A landscape, this acquisition is definitely the most substantial enterprise software deal this year. This is kind of overshadowing Silver Lake Partners' $12 billion move with Qualtrics. And I think with all major deals, regulatory approval is going to be a hurdle here, especially given the kind of heightened global scrutiny around these huge transactions. However, both parties remain very hopeful for a smooth closure by the timeline which they've kind of designated, which is next year. So very interesting to see from my end how this plays out, how this affects Splunk's foray into AI. If before the acquisition they're going to start pumping out a bunch of new AI features to help in this whole cybersecurity area, or if they're going to say, look, we already have a purchase price on us and they're just going to kind of coast with the current features they have. I hope it's the former, but we will have to see. Definitely a very interesting acquisition, probably one of the biggest we've seen this year. And so definitely something we'll be following very closely as, these kind of high profile acquisitions that are so closely tied to AI play a big role in the market and in, the valuations and prices of AI companies. I think this really shows that the demand for AI right now is not slowing down. If anything, it's accelerating, and, people are willing to pay some really massive sums to close these kind of deals.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Thank you for listening to the AI Chat Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure you check out our Discord channel and also our Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast, where we can actually share software tools, prompts that we're using in everyday AI. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.